Welcome back to another episode of Coaching Insights with Michael Scott. I am your host, and today we have the awesome pleasure of speaking with Morgan Hance. She is a senior at Clay City High School. She's going to play Division I softball at Eastern Illinois University. So we're excited for you to join us on this conversation. She is an absolute joy. If you are a coach, if you are a player, if you want to learn more about the recruiting process, this is a great episode for you. And I just know that you're going to really enjoy her outlook and what it took to become a Division I athlete. So without further ado, here's the episode. And thank you guys for stopping by. Appreciate it. All right. Well, thank you for joining me again. I am here with Morgan Hance of Clay City, and we're going to talk about a whole bunch of things. Mm-hmm. But thank you for joining me. You are a coach, you are an athlete, and so I'm very excited to kind of share Morgan's story with you. And so without further ado, if you just want to start us off and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so I'm a senior at Clay City High School. I recently signed to Eastern Illinois University to play collegiate softball at the Division I level. Mm-hmm. I've played softball since I was 7 years old. It's always been a dream of mine to play collegiate softball, just like my older sisters. I had one sister that dual sported at SWIC and the other one played volleyball. Okay. So they were always wonderful role models for me all the way through my journey.
Cool. You've been playing your whole life?
Yes.
Okay. So when was it when was the turning point for you?
Yeah.
Of when your career just kind of started taking off? Or was there a certain point in time where you're just like, mm-hmm. This is going to be my thing and I'm going?
Yeah. So I would say that I developed really early with my skills.
Yeah.
But once I hit my sophomore year, that's really when I was like, yes, I want to play college softball. I want to play Division I softball.
Okay.
So
that's when you started kind of falling in love
mm-hmm.
with it. Okay.
Yes.
Cool. That makes total sense.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us a little bit about, so we heard about where you're going.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that process and how the recruiting process went. I know social media played a little bit of a role into it. You still got to be a baller on the field, and you absolutely are. But tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's a love-hate relationship with the recruiting process. You can ask any collegiate athlete, and they'll probably cringe at the word recruiting process.
Right.
It's a lengthy process. Mine started probably about my freshman, sophomore year when I started playing for Illinois Spree out of Centralia area. It's a lot of social media presence. I would say it's about 75% on how you market yourself rather than your skill set.
Why do you think that is? Or is that just the way that it's going?
So if you don't present yourself in a confidence manner, they're not going to be confident in you. That's kind of how we look at it on our team. Yeah. You have to believe in yourself and your abilities. And you got to show them on social media how far you can develop once you're a part of their program.
Okay. And then and then one step further that I want you to kind of go a little bit deeper on is how did you market yourself? Did you show highlights? Did you show, after games, did you just get on and be like, I went 0-for-4 and that was terrible. But tomorrow I'm going to go,
Yeah. So I think it's about sharing both the good and the bad.
Okay.
Twitter was a big aspect in my recruiting process. My whole Twitter is just softball feed.
Okay.
Posting highlights, workout videos, stats. Coaches don't really care as much about stats. They care more about demeanor and how you carry yourself on and off the field. Yeah. Academics play a huge role.
Sure.
So sharing those transcripts and academic honors, things like that.
Yeah. I mean, to say that you went in softball tournament 538, that I went, 12 for 14 with 10 dingers or something like that.
I'd be sharing that.
Yeah. But then they also are going to start to question, really, you went 12 for 14 in a tournament? Was that competition actually, the level that you should be playing at, right? Because nobody has. I mean, that would be an incredible weekend, and let's hope that we all do that. But at the same time, if you're constantly posting stuff like that, then it's
It's a lot more than just posting those stats, for sure.
Right. So how did you have somebody helping you? Did you know what you were doing? Did you have like a thought process in your mind? Like, I got it whiteboarded and I'm gonna,
Yeah, I wouldn't really say it was like a checklist. I
Okay.
had my big sisters to look up to, but the
Okay.
recruiting process was a lot different when they were in school. They're
Oh, yeah.
25 now, so it's a little bit different. They didn't have all the social media and things like that. So I kind of navigated it myself, but also asking other people, other girls, coaches, just asking people what they're looking for. What catches your eye?
Okay. That's a great question. I mean, especially when you're up and coming and you're trying to figure it out. That's a great question for you. What else? Walk us through, because there's a dead period. And then, so the dead period ends, and then your phone blows up with a whole bunch of D1 offers, right? Isn't that how that works?
Oh, that's how we want it to work, don't we? So September 1st of junior year is whenever Division I coaches can reach out to athletes.
Yep.
So that's the most anticipated day of the year. Everybody's posting September 1st is tomorrow.
Right.
And I really don't believe in the whole September 1st thing. I had a wonderful September 1st, but there was many girls that I'll be playing in college that didn't receive those texts or calls on that first day. But mine looked a little different. Obviously I had to go to school, but my teachers were nice enough to let me go out of the room, take my phone calls and things like that. So Clay City worked with me on that day.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
what day of the week was it?
Oh gosh, I think it was like a Monday or Tuesday.
Pretty important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was a cool experience. But nobody wanted to talk to me that day because I was a nervous wreck. My dream school at the time didn't contact me all day, and I'm actually driving in the car and I get a text at like 6:30 and it's like, hey, do you have time to take a phone call from that school? And I was like, yes, immediately, yes.
All right, just pull over.
Yes.
Wherever you're at, in the ditch. It doesn't
there was
matter.
Like no service, so I was like, oh my gosh.
How's this going to look?
Yeah, it just hangs up mid-phone call.
Right, yeah. Was it something I said?
Yeah, literally.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So how did you navigate that? Like, how many trips did you take? How many official visits? I don't want to get you in trouble, so you don't have to say how many unofficials you did.
That's all right.
But what was that process like, and how did you kind of narrow it down as you were going through that process?
So I've been pretty fortunate. I only took 2 unofficial visits before making my decision. I visited the University of Evansville in Evansville, Indiana, and then I visited Eastern Illinois University, which is where I'm going.
Yep.
And I visited Evansville in September, so probably a week or 2 after September 1st, I was the first recruit on campus. That was the school that contacted me at the 6:30. They were my number 1 school at the time. And then Eastern, I took my visit in October.
Okay.
Yep.
And then what was the difference between the two? Like, how did you know? You still might not. Like,
I mean, we hope. We hope
but still, like, how did
get that feeling?
Right. So, walk us through what that feeling was when you stepped on campus and then started like meeting people. How did that?
Eastern just is a family. I played travel ball there for 7 years. I played for a wonderful coaching staff there in Charleston. So Charleston had always been kind of my second home.
Yeah.
So returning back on campus was such a rewarding feeling, being like, man, I played travel ball here for 7 years. Who would have thought this is where I'd end back in college ball?
Sure.
The coaches and the players were instantly welcoming. I enjoyed all the camps, and it was just an amazing unofficial visit. And I got to go with my roommate, Abby Hatton. She's on my travel team now. So,
oh, cool.
Yep.
Oh, so you guys took the visit together. Oh, that's awesome.
She actually committed before I did.
Oh, really?
Pressure was on.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's no pressure then.
No pressure.
Yeah. When you went, how did that... Like, did you do a campus tour? Or did you tour the locker room? Like, how? Yeah. Just walk us through that visit.
So we actually went on like a student day. So there was a lot of the regular students there, or kids that were interested in coming as well. Sure. But our coaches took us around, and we did all the tours, all the buildings, softball field, locker rooms, all the things.
Right.
We actually even got to like try on all the uniforms. So that was really cool.
I mean,
that's a must, right?
Oh, yeah.
But that was a pretty cool experience, just putting on that number 1 jersey, and I was like, this could be real.
Right. It does have an effect on you, I'm sure.
And I believe that you really shouldn't put that uniform on unless you're seriously considering playing for that program. Like, I wouldn't just go on an unofficial and be like, and put on that jersey.
Right. Yeah. It is interesting when you practice, or you see it kind of in the players, like as a coach, like you see it like during practice, they're practicing, and then all of a sudden, like, jerseys get put on. And then they have like whatever their name is across the chest, it's like kind of like I don't know, there's a sense of shoulders back, chin up, and now they have this like confidence, and now they feel like a team.
Right.
Whereas before they were, just mismatching and in practice gear. You know what I mean? So it's weird to kind of think through that from a college level.
Yeah, our head coach for Illinois Spree always says you play for the name on the front, not on the back.
Right, yeah.
And so that's kind of our, I don't know what you say, mission statement for our team is you're representing that name.
Right.
So I hope to kind of transfer that over at Eastern.
And I'm sure you felt that because you're not, you're humble. And you're confident, but you're humble in what you're doing. And so I totally see that being one of the things that pulled you in, I'm sure. And talk about just your senior season. You're playing a whole bunch of different sports. I mean, you play volleyball, you play softball. Just talk about like what that's been like. This year has been a little bit different, but playing volleyball for a new high school, even though you're not going to a new high school. How is that?
A lot of people say their senior year can be their slack off year. Not for me at all. Okay. Right. So I played volleyball at North Clay this past fall for my sister, Megan, which was a wonderful experience.
Was it really?
At first, it took a little getting used to.
Okay.
But I'm saying this as your sister, not as your player.
Oh, okay. All right.
But it was
I have
awesome.
those conversations with Maven.
Yeah.
My daughter, and I'm like, okay, do you want the coach version or do you want the dad version?
Right. And I've always played for my family. I played softball for my grandpa, volleyball for my mom, and both of my sisters. Okay, right. So it came natural, but it was a little getting used to.
I'm sure. It's like you see I mean, I don't think I would have taken direction well from my sisters, but
it was tough, but it was an awesome experience.
I'm sure it was tough. Tell me, tell the viewers, I know, but tell me about your, how you taught yourself how to play volleyball without your dominant hand.
Yes. So,
and why?
I actually play volleyball right-handed, and I do everything else left-handed.
Which is why your watch is on your right hand.
Yeah, solely for the fact that I didn't want to hurt my pitching arm when I was in junior high.
Right.
My family was like, you cannot get hurt. Like, you're going to be pitching in college, which I'm not. But so that was kind of the reason, and it just came natural. So I did it ever since.
Wow. I mean, to teach yourself how to play volleyball right-handed, and you were an outside, right? So you're playing all the way around, and you're passing a lot, but then to teach yourself how to like swing right-handed when that's not your dominant hand, and the coordination that it takes, because it's normally your eye is the one that's dominant.
And so softball, it's complete opposite.
Right. Because you're left eye dominant. I forget which one it is.
I don't know. Opposite of whatever.
Right. Yeah. So you're right eye dominant. Which is really interesting. I mean, kudos to you. You did that in what grade?
It would have been 5th grade. That's when we started playing at Clay City.
In 5th grade, you were just like, I can't mess up my pitching arm.
Nope. I was serious,
Is that, I mean, so that it's kind of always been ingrained that like into your head, like I'm going to go play college ball.
Yeah. Obviously, there's been moments where you're like, man, I don't know if this is right for me. But the long-term goal was play on the collegiate field.
Sure.
I didn't care about the level so much, but just getting there.
Right. Talk about a little bit, I have a youth wrestling program. Talk a little bit about how much did you play versus practice? And did you go to was it more like tournaments, or was it more camps, or was it all of the above?
So when I was younger, I would say a lot more practices than games. A lot of development there.
Sure.
As I've gotten older, we do purely showcases. So a win or a loss really doesn't matter. If you're playing the top team in the country, that's amazing, because where all the coaches going to be watching the top team in the country. Right. So I think kind of that culture shock, making that transition over from, oh man, I want to win, to, oh man, I want to get all 12 of our girls recruited. Right. It's a big thing.
Yeah. I mean, and that's a hard thing to do, especially in softball. Baseball is a very stat-oriented sport. Yeah. And so, I just think about, there's a runner on second, and you need to put the ball on the right side, But the problem with that is it's going to go down as a fielder's choice, but in order to win the game, you need to move the runner over. So, that's an 0 for 1 for you. But, it was better that you did that for the team than to, try and hit the ball opposite field and, in the gap or something, you know what I mean? Or change your swing. Yeah. And it is okay to roll one over, So how do you balance that? And in a showcase setting, how did you?
So in a showcase setting, you're there to show out. That's exactly what you're there for, right? Okay.
So is it do the coaches even coach that way? It's hey, listen, swing away. We're not worried about it. We really
don't. So I'm left-handed, so I do a little bit more of the bunting, slapping, and hitting away. If you're right-handed, you cannot bunt in a showcase. So you're swinging away. Really? You're showing those coaches what you can do in the box, because we don't care about wins or losses. So winning runs on third, if you can bunt them in, it don't matter. Hit. Okay. So that's So that's a little bit of a difference. I don't know exactly how I feel about that.
What a joy to coach that. It's whatever. That's fine.
But
whatever you want.
Yeah. Get away. It's different. I don't know exactly how I feel about it, but I've got the better end of the stick being left-handed. So.
Right, especially in that setting. Yeah,
because that's a part of my game. That I got recruited for my speed, my slapping, and things like that as well. So,
what position are you gonna you're gonna be outfield, but
outfield, yeah, hopefully center field. But I'll be happy with wherever I get put out there.
Right. So. Yeah. However you can contribute. Right.
However,
ultimate teammate. There you go. There you go. All right, and then you also coach little kids. All age kids, but. Tell us a little bit about that. I know that's a little bit of a ministry for you and how you like to connect. I think that's one of the most, the coolest things to hear, I would say. And the accomplishment part, that's really cool. But to do the stuff that you do from a coaching standpoint, one-on-ones, tell us a little bit about your business and how that's come to be.
Yeah, so I've been giving softball lessons for about 2.5 years. It'll be 3 years in May, I think. Okay. Which feels crazy because it feels like I just started yesterday.
Right.
When it all started, I just got a text on Facebook. Hey, I heard you would be the person to hit up for softball lessons. And I was like, you know what? I really would be. So I just kind of ran with that, and slowly we just started growing. And I'm grateful to have the shed is what we call it at my house. So I do all my softball lessons there. Okay. And just having a background, a family background in coaching has been a wonderful instrument because I've been able to learn from them. And they're also tools I can utilize every day. I was building a pitching program for a 15-year-old, the other day, and I needed help. And so having grandpa on speed dial is truly amazing.
That's awesome. So you're able to
shoot ideas off each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I mean, my dad's a coach, and so we have, and I'm in constant contact with other coaches, and it's hey, I can't get this kid to, I don't know, lift his head up. I can't get him to do this. What do you got? We share ideas, but that's really cool when you can have that especially with grandpa.
Right.
I mean, it's one thing when it's your dad. It's another thing when it's like your grandpa and you like have something legitimate, you know, a deeper relationship than, oh, it's just grandpa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's going to buy me ice cream every time I see him.
Yeah,
right?
probably. Yeah.
So how many, and you don't have to like give me all the stats, but like how often are you giving lessons, and like what is walk us through a little bit of the process, because I want people, I mean, they got kids. Hopefully they're going to send them to you.
But, so it's been a little bit of a challenge kind of balancing my training and giving softball lessons. You know, my training right now kind of has to take the bigger role. That's just how it 100%. Needs to be. Yeah. So during the school year, I take 18 players. So I currently have 18 people that I give lessons to. And in the summer, I take up to 40, and I usually have a wait list for both.
Wow.
So, yep.
That's awesome.
And I, right now I'm giving lessons this week, 7 days a week.
Really?
So if I'm not playing, I'm probably giving lessons.
That's awesome. Yeah. So are you going through like all the gamuts, or are you specializing in like, or is it like based upon the player? Like, hey, listen, like you're just starting out, so we're going to, like, I'm going to roll you balls for an hour.
I think doing ages 6 to 16 can be a challenge because, every player is different, especially with that age gap. So, my 6-year-old, we may be working on just catching, throwing, and our 16-year-old, we might be working on spinning that rise ball, drop ball, and all the things.
Right.
You know, the biggest challenge has probably been making the adjustment within the hour. Like yesterday, I had a 7th grader for my first lesson of the day. For my second lesson, I had a 3rd grader. So just kind of making that quick switch, even with your demeanor and how I speak to them. It's a quick fix.
Yeah, it's a yeah. I mean, I can tell you that I don't. I'm sure Mia would have even more opinions, but sometimes I don't make that switch fast enough. You know what I mean? Yeah,
it's not talked about enough.
No, it's really not, because we do like a 45-minute practice for what I would consider the little kids, right? And so we have like 1st through 3rd grade, and then we go 3rd or 4th through 8th grade. But still, some of those 4th graders are on the cusp of like, can they handle really how you would talk to a 6th or 7th grader?
Yep.
You know what I mean? From a maturity standpoint, what's their background like? You know, those sorts of things. And so sometimes I'm like, I got to remember, oh, hey, But also too, when I coach, you know, my daughter at 12, I'm like, well, why can't you just remember, you know, you're running a 5-1 rotation. How can't you remember you're in the front row and not in the back row? You know what I mean? So even that's a struggle, but it's like it's 12.
Yeah.
You know, so that is something that I would say coaches have it's hard to coach all ages.
Yes, it is.
So now I want you to now kind of talk a little bit about, talk about your training, because I know that you, there's training and people think, oh, you know, she just went and hit 5,000, you know, balls off the tee every day. And then, you know, they did this and she fielded the ball and she, you know, all of those things. But I know that there's more to it than that. So tell us a little bit about your like actual training part of your getting your body ready.
Yeah. So I have a personal trainer out of Fairfield. I train with Bridget Offield. She's been a wonderful resource. She trains a bunch of amazing athletes around the area.
Yeah, she
female
does.
Athletes.
Shout out to Bridget.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's actually her birthday weekend.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I need to get her on. Bridget,
she has transformed me, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally. I can just walk in a room and feel much more confident knowing that I'm giving 110% in my training. You know, like I deserve to be standing in that room with all the amazing athletes.
Right.
That
feeling of belonging is a big deal.
Yeah. And if you're not training properly, you're not going to feel that.
Right.
You know? She does all my training programs, and we're very, very intense. We do a lot of CrossFit training, but we get softball specific, of course.
Sure.
She has it pretty tough. She has volleyball players,
Right.
track runners, but I'm her first softball player.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know she does like Emerson and she'll have
Yes.
volleyball
Yes.
there.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I'm like her first long-term
Another
softball
D1
player.
commit.
And we both have the same nickname. Isn't that weird?
It really is.
It's tough working out at the same time.
Yeah. You're like, which one of us is slacking off here?
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, I mean, both of you guys are just amazing people in general. You guys have very similar like attitude, conversationalist. You can tell your mental approach is the same. I talked to her for a little while.
Yeah.
And man, you guys are so similar. And it makes sense that you guys are friends too.
Right.
But you guys both have that internal drive. And so is that something that has always been with you, or has it kind of been brought out?
I feel like it's something that's instilled within you when you're young. Yeah. But as you get older and kind of get to that age where you can kind of grow your own opinions, you have the opportunity to kind of put that into place.
Sure.
I don't know. Really use that to your advantage.
Yeah.
We don't take opportunities lightly. Whenever we have those, we utilize them. Since she's going to Utah State, I'm sure the recruiting process was lengthy for her too.
Yeah.
Lots of.
I talked to her a little bit about it. She said it was pretty brutal.
Tough. It really plays a mental role. Like you're like, am I good enough to play at this level? Is this where I need to be?
Right.
And the people around you don't always get it. You know.
Yeah.
Being from such a small area, people value sports in Clay City, but it's different. It's not as much of a softball atmosphere.
Sure. And it's also kind of I mean, when you start getting up into the upper echelons of the sport, then it becomes more sport specific.
Yeah.
I feel like. Yeah. And really it's like, okay, I'm doing this at a high level, but I'm doing like this one sport. And so does that transfer over to volleyball? Does that really transfer over to track? Does that transfer over to basketball? You know, like all of those sports have their own little ways of the way that they do things and the things that they're looking for, right? Because it's like, you know, very specific, position specific on some of those sports. Yeah. Where it's like, no, we're looking for a middle. Yeah. You know, or, okay, we're looking for an outside, but like, do I play outside? Or like, I know that early in your career you were a pitcher and then you had to transition to being an outfielder. I mean, so it's very much, I mean, that even that little bit is kind of tough.
That was very tough. I would say we all train different, you know. Right. If I walked into Emerson's session or she walked into mine, we're going to be doing different things. Right. Some things may be similar, but there's a lot of softball specific movements that we work on that just aren't, and like she doesn't need to be doing those. So. Right.
Because they just don't apply.
Yeah.
And she's doing more jumping and you're probably doing more
explosive, right? Running, things like that.
She's trying to get her touch 10-10 or whatever it is. Because she jumps out at the gym. Yeah. Hangs in the air for like an hour.
Yeah. And I think training with those athletes is such a healthy competition. And I think that's something that I really wish I could teach more of that. But since I'm really in that one-on-one setting, I don't get that as much with girls. Sure. But we all build each other up at our gym. Yeah. Healthy competition. That's what we preach.
Right. That's awesome. So, and then kind of as we start to like wrap this up, talk about this is, I don't know, we're developing what this story is and what this podcast is or video cast or whatever it is. But it's about coaching. And so from your perspective, you're a high level athlete. Talk about coaching in this time frame that you're currently in. I mean, you're a high level athlete. I want to coach coaches, right? And we want to, as coaches, we want to get the best out of our players. So how in this world do we manage all of the things that you have going on? Right. And what are some expectations that we should have of you and that you should have a boss, I guess, is not to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
or anything.
I think in the coaching standpoint, it's all about networking,
Sure.
working together. I'd be lying if I didn't say that I don't scroll through my phone and text college coaches for help at lessons. I have many college coaches that are amazing resources that love to help. And I think that's the big thing. People love to help. And if you don't use those resources to your advantage, you're missing out. Yeah. And I think that's one thing I've also been taught in the CEO program is that the people are there. Yeah. You just have to be confident enough to speak up and reach out. Yeah. So just using those resources.
Yeah, I will say that learning, even the stuff that, from a wrestling standpoint, I know that this works, but still
how can you make that better?
Yeah, I still got to figure that out.
Changing.
Yeah, and so I would say YouTube is unbelievable.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah,
coaching conventions, Twitter, anything you can get your hands on that'll make you a better coach or a better player is awesome.
Tell me a little bit about your perspective. It used to be when I was going to school, and that makes me sound really old. Sorry about that. But it used to be like whatever coach says, you do it. I don't feel like it's that anymore. I feel like there's got to be like a trust built up, and you can feel free to correct me, but I feel like there has to be like a trust between athlete and coach, and then you can get them to like run through a wall. But and probably even before, like I was, in high school, it was more like if the coach told you to run through the wall, you ran through the wall, and it wasn't. But now, so from your perspective, how do you see you and your peers?
The way that I like to be coached and the way that I coach is connection first, and then you can start to kind of evaluate them in their own way, I guess you could say. No two of my girls are coached the same. And I can say that even on my travel team. My coach does not speak to this two girls the same, because everyone's different. One girl might like to be yelled at and criticized, helpfully, of course. Or another girl, you might just have to pull them aside and say, hey, you need to do this, and it's okay. Got it, coach. And I think just finding where your players kind of fit into that and kind of just working with each player. I don't know.
No, you're 100% right.
Because I would not coach two girls the exact same. No girls on the same program. Everything's different.
And I feel like there was a point in time where it was like everybody kind of got the same person, right? Like it didn't matter, but there are, and I think that's what wrestling coaches do really well. They figure out what makes each individual tick, because it is such an individualized sport, so you have to, you really have to be intentional about, or you can see certain little things that are starting to happen and you're like, oh, they're getting pissed, or, they're starting to throw a little bit of a temper, or, and so and some people, it's like, you got to get in their face to get their attention. And then some people it's like, okay, like, listen, this is how we're going to do it. And it's got to be softer.
Yeah. The more time you spend with that athlete, you learn their little things.
Yeah. What do you think is the biggest, I would say that, what do you think your peers that you've been involved with on your teams, how do they respond to tough, or are they more, I don't know, what have you seen over the course of your last 4 years on, is it that individualized? Is it, are the kids well, I immediately shut down as soon as they start raising their voice or whatever? Help me understand what that looks like for each of those, kind of the team, I guess you could say.
So I think at a high level, obviously you have to be able to take healthy criticism, but knowing how to take that in different ways within the players. But everyone's different, all 12 of the girls on my travel team are different. from 1 to 9, through the lineup. We're different. We learn different. We teach different. We talk different. All the things.
Right.
So, but there's one common thing. It's the next level. So.
Right. And so help me with this, because I'm trying to coach Maven through this. She's 12.
Yeah.
How did you reply, or how do you think of criticism when it's correction? Right. So like, hey, I see something that's wrong, right? That like maybe her hands aren't coming up fast enough, or maybe she's not transitioning away from the ball, or maybe she's not ready. So like how, like from her standpoint, if she were to be here, what would you say to her on taking criticism and not letting it like factor into the rest of her whole life? You know what I mean? Well, her whole, the rest of the game, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So I would say it's just an opportunity to learn. You can take everything with a grain of salt. You don't have to apply it, but you should always listen.
Right.
Okay. You should always have respect for those that are above you, even if you don't think that's going to make you better, which you probably will. Just saying.
You heard it here first.
But just be respectful. Take that in. Take it all in.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Maven, I hope you're listening. You should.
I hope all my girls listen to that too.
Right. Maybe we'll cut that part up and make it a video of its own.
Yeah. I bet my coach will screen record that and send it to me when I'm having a day.
Right. Yeah, probably. Remember when you said this?
Yeah. Take it all in.
Yeah. Yeah. Remember? Well, I just want to say thank you for your time. I know that you are my mentee.
Yes.
At the CEO program, and that's been like just an awesome experience. And I know that we share a love of sports, and I love the fact that you're just so willing to help anybody, really. I mean, your kids, obviously you do it. You want to, that's a passion of yours, but I mean, what are you most excited for in this next for college? Like what is it that you're looking forward to the most? And then we'll end with that.
I think I'm just looking forward to seeing that training pay off. The way we train, our bodies hurt, right? Our minds hurt.
Yeah.
But we know the goal. We know the long-term goal.
Sure.
So getting to Eastern and working my butt off and hopefully earning that spot, that's the ultimate goal. And just seeing my name on that lineup is going to be the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very fortunate that I was given that opportunity to kind of thrive and work towards that.
Right. That'll be pretty awesome. One last question, if I might.
All right.
Tell me about your journey, your faith journey.
Okay.
And how that's played a role in your sports.
Yeah. So I've always been raised in a family that's super open. Okay. They think that, or my parents have always told us that you make your own decisions. Okay. You work through everything on your own, and then they're there to support you.
Sure.
So I would say my faith journey started a little late, later than I would have wanted.
Mine started way later than I wanted.
Yes,
so it's okay.
Better late than never, right?
100%.
Yeah. So I would say in the last year, my faith has really grown.
Okay.
And I really struggled early in after I committed, kind of with just knowing your purpose.
Sure.
Okay, I've committed. What now? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, there's a letdown.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because you're working towards this goal. Yeah.
And so just having that that faith in Christ, that this is the journey. He's got a plan, has just been a fulfilling feeling. And I have noticed that I've really been in the moment, really enjoying my teammates, enjoying my coaches, just the atmosphere.
That's cool. That's awesome. I feel as though there's a special anointing on your life. Me and Mia have talked about that, and how your demeanor and the way that you make people feel like they're important. Yeah. And they are. It's not like an act or anything like that. It is genuine kindness coming from you. And you can just feel it. There's a lot of athletes that don't often get to that point. And so their purpose is in their sport. And so it's awesome to hear you talk about that, because I know has played a major part in who you are, but you can definitely tell that there's been, was it people, was it a place, was it, how did that all come to fruition, right here? I mean, this is kind of recent for you, so it's
I think
cool
it was
to talk
really
about.
just that situation, like not knowing what's next, you know?
Sure.
How do I set that next goal?
Right.
You know, but I really think it's just about being in the moment, thanking the Lord for what you have, and kind of representing Him in everything that I do, which is being on that field.
Yep.
So.
And they're seeing you, Him through you.
Yeah.
Right.
And I always say, be a better person than you are a player. I
love it.
When you're in those situations on the field where things aren't going your way and you can have that attitude, I just remember, be a better person than you are a player.
Well, it's me. Sometimes we start looking at it ourselves. We're like, oh man, I can't do this. I can't do that. And you see that like with your athletes when they're in a game situation, you see their shoulders start to do this number, and then they stop talking to their teammates and all the things. How do you go about being a teammate in that situation, just for
on both sides?
Yeah.
So
you don't get down on yourself, do you?
Ever? You know, we try not to, but we're human, right? But yeah, just being a good teammate. You know, you may be going 0 for 4. But another girl on your team may have just had the best game of her life, and the dream school coach just watched her play. You know, and I think just recognizing those moments and knowing that your moments will come, but being proud and happy for the people that bring you up.
Yeah, that's awesome. We'll end on that because I don't think there's a better way to end. Yeah. So thank you for your time. Thank you for all you do for your kids that you coach. Thank you for, I don't know, the way you represent Clay County just in general. And we wish you nothing but success and can't wait to watch you. Tell everybody your socials so they can follow your career. Oh my gosh. Come on.
Just Twitter. We're just
just Twitter. Okay.
Twitter is
you don't have to give your Snapchat or anything.
No, we're not doing that one. I'm not doing that number.
Okay, good.
Twitter is at Morgan Hance with 3 E's at the end.
3 E's at the end.
3 E's because the one was taken. Didn't know there was another Morgan Hance.
But we don't have any E's on the field, so it's kind of a play on words.
That's where all my softball related things are.
Awesome. So that way we can follow your career, because I want people to know when you play around here, maybe they can make a trip up, or if they're in some other place and they're watching this,
you can go watch more. Eastern softball on ESPN.
Right, there you go. There's a plug right there.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, thanks, Morgan.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you for having me.
My pleasure. We'll see you guys next time. All right.